Hello, tonight I'm in Toronto's historical distillery district. It was designated a historical site in 1988, and it's the largest collection of Victorian industrial buildings in North America. And it made it in the top 10 of National Geographic's top 10 places to visit in Toronto. Yes, I bought a new camera. I know, I've got a problem. The one on the box, it's black. It kind of freaked me out because when it came and I saw the black one on the box, I ordered the silver one, so I was kind of worried that maybe they sent me the wrong one. Yes, I bought the silver one. If you've got a problem with that, it's not your camera, it's mine, okay? So don't upset me. For those of you who are new here, my name is Marco. I'm a creative generalist. All that means is I've been lucky enough to get paid to do a bunch of creative stuff throughout my career. I've learned some things along the way, and now it's my chance to share those things along with you guys. Maybe learn a thing or two myself. I usually am the one learning stuff. So I've got this A7C. Apparently Sony has changed the color a little bit in this camera, so I'm kind of back to messing around a little bit with what color I'm going to use for my for this show. I have a feeling that I'm going to really dig the color in this, since it's supposed to be an improvement over the A7 III, and I did like the color out of the A7 III already. So today in Toronto we had hot, full-blown summer weather, and a couple months ago when I shot that intro clip, it was hovering around freezing outside, and so that night I really didn't want to stick around too long, but I did get some HLG test footage, so I could finally bring you that test of the Leeming LUTs for converting HLG to Rec 709. So yeah, let's take a look. So here we are in DaVinci Resolve. It happens to be my editor of choice and where I do my color grading, my sound work, and also some compositing here in the Fusion tab. All the modes for doing that stuff are here at the bottom. Actually, Resolve built its reputation on being a color grading tool, and of course that's what we're going to be doing today, but it is an awesome editor and it's great for sound, and Fusion has also got an amazing reputation for compositing, and you know, they put Fusion together with Resolve, so now you get it all in one package. You can do all of this in the free version of Resolve. I happen to be using the studio version, but you don't need the studio version for, you know, 95% of the stuff that most people will do. LUTs you can put into any version of Resolve, and it actually comes with a bunch of LUTs as well. Alright, anyway, so here is the clip in question. The first thing that you're going to want to do for this purpose, and out of the Sony A7 III or the A7C, you're going to want to go into File, Project Settings, or you can use the shortcut and hit Shift 9. It pops this window open, and on the left here you're going to want to go into Color Management, and at the top you're going to want to make sure it says DaVinci YRGB, not one of these other ones, or you're going to have results that are unexpected. Converting to Rec 709. Alright, so everything there is set. And now here in the clip, I'm going to go into the color tab here at the bottom. In my case, I've got my logo watermark over the bottom right corner. Down here, I'm going to want to click on the actual clip, and then that gives us the actual node that represents this clip here on the left in the viewer. So the first thing I'm going to want to do is I'm going to add a serial node. I can apply the LUT directly onto this node, but I like keeping all my nodes separate, and it's really quick to do. You just right click, add node, add serial, and then in this node I'm going to add the LUT, and then I'll add another serial node afterwards for any changes on top of the LUT. So then I'll know the node that I've got the original on, the LUT, and then a third node for my changes. You don't have to do this, you can stick it all on the first one, but I just like keeping things organized like this. So I'm going to right click, I'm going to just add another node for later. I'm going to click on our center node, right click, LUT, and I've installed the LUT that Paul created, Paul Leeming. I could do another video how to install LUTs, but there are quite a few videos out there for how to do that in, of course, not just Resolve, but in other applications. I had to buy this from Paul. It was relatively inexpensive. I'm going to go to Leeming LUT Athena, and then over here it says Sony A series HLG3 for Rec 709, which is exactly what we want to do. Now, as soon as I apply that, you'll see in the viewer the window went a little bit darker. Now, as it made the color change, it also made things a little bit darker. Paul has provided some LUTs that were included in the pack that I bought that help you brighten things up and make changes after this, but I like actually doing those changes on my own. But this gives you a great head start color-wise if you're working with HLG3. And I mean, HLG3 isn't all that difficult to fix regardless of whether you use a LUT or not, but I find that what Paul did is pretty great actually. I'm going to want to select our last little node I added here, and that's where I'm going to make the changes on top of what the LUT did. In the bottom left hand corner we have our little wheels to make our changes. The first one I usually change is the lift. What I'm going to do with this is I'm going to add the blacks back into the into this. I'm actually going to show you what's happening on the scopes here. Let me switch over to my other monitor because I'm working with two monitors and all my scopes are on the other one. Alright, now if you look at the bottom right hand corner, when I move the lift back and forth, you'll see that the red, green, and the blue move up and down at the bottom. And what I want to do is I want to just have those colors kiss that bottom line. That bottom line basically represents like the blackest black. And now, of course, if the bottom represents the blackest black, the top is going to represent the whitest white in our image. And so I'm going to adjust that by grabbing the wheel for the gain. And so now I've got the gain, and you can see that going up and down. Now these are just very basic color grading fundamentals that you should know when you're working in Resolve. So, and I'm just going to have those peaks touch that line at the top, and that will just keep us from clipping any of our whites. A lot of people will actually come just below that. That gives you a little bit more headroom. Alright, let me switch back over to our wheels. Okay, back on the other monitor. Now I've got my lift set, I've got my gain set, and you'll see at the bottom here there's this row of numbers. And oh, by the way, if you want to reset the lift or the gain or anything that you change within these wheels, you can just click on these little arrows, these circle arrow thingamabobbers, and that'll reset you back to 0. So anyway, though, at the very bottom you'll see there's color boost, shadow, highlight, saturation, hue. Now for any of you who've worked with raw photographs, for instance, and these actually work very similar to those, and it's actually pretty surprising how much control you have over the image with this footage, considering it's only 8-bit. It's definitely enough for someone like myself, especially if you're exposing correctly. Now, if you're way off with your exposure, that's where having 10-bit color and above is going to help recover stuff, or if you're going really heavy with your grades. But you can do quite a bit here. If you play around here with this shadow slider, for instance, if you look at our viewer, you can see the huge difference that it's making in the image. So I'm just going to pick that up just a little bit. You can actually type these values in too, And then you can do the same thing with the highlights, just like you would with an image in Lightroom. And this is the same thing. It just grabs the highlights and you can manipulate those. Now, just like these sliders above, there's a way to reset these, and all you do is click on the actual words here. Yeah, you just double click on the word and it resets it to 0. And you've got these saturation controls and so on. Sometimes I give these a little bit more color. You can see we're getting a lot of yellow in the lights and in that clock face. Actually just going to go back to 50 on that. 50 is the default for saturation. So for working with HLG3 footage, that is my workflow. And it is a little easier with those LUTs from Paul. And actually I'm going to ink in those blacks just a little bit more, so I'm just going to click on my clip again, and I'm going to pull down that lift. Now what happened was when I messed around with the shadow control, I lost a little bit of what I did with the lift. There we go, we got our contrast back. So yeah, it looks pretty decent. So Paul Leeming's website is Leeming LUT Pro. This is it right here. I'm not making anything off of recommending his LUTs, but I just think Paul did a great job, and he's actually a pretty cool guy and very responsive if you've got any problems. If you email him, he'll get back to you right away. He's good enough to take the time to make any suggestions if you're having problems. If you scroll down here, you'll find the list of cameras, and of course I've got a Sony A series, and the price here is in euros. I just basically grabbed the LUTs for the HLG3. So as some of you might know, I like traveling with my equipment, so I'm always looking for ways to lighten my load or make things more compact, and that's why I went with the A7C. I am in fact shooting this whole episode with the A7C. There's nothing in this box right now, so I did in fact sell my A7 III. I don't have that camera anymore, and I used that money to buy the A7C. I've also sold some of my other heavier equipment to replace with lighter, smaller gear. And this is episode 10 of season 2, which is the last episode of season 2. And in season 3, I'm actually going to start doing more reviews of stuff. I've always shied away from making this a review channel because I've wanted my content future-proof, so in the future it's you can look back at episodes and there's still something of value. But I know a lot of you out there are really into gear like I am, and so I am going to be focusing a little bit more on gear in the new season. So I'll be doing some reviews, and I'm pretty excited about it because I've got you know, drone stuff and sliders and small travel size gimbals and all kinds of things like that that I want to share with you. Well, it was another short episode and the last of season 2, and hopefully this one was of some value to someone out there. Anyway, if it was, throw me a thumbs up. If not, well, that's okay too. And until next time, keep working to make your chosen idea a reality. Peace.